Entertainment news today. You're such a dragon gay. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark. All those bombs and flops, but need never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
Hello once again, everybody. How's everybody doing? Are you eating Chinese food, Mikey?
Yes.
I saw the chopsticks.
I'm having Vietnamese pho.
Q?
Pho.
Q?
Pho.
Q? Is that like barbecue?
No, it's Vietnamese soup. Pho. Are you making fun of me?
Of course I am. How you doing, Price?
For God's sake. Price, unmute.
Yep. I'm on mute or you're on mute?
You're
not fine
on
now. How you doing?
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm doing good. No, I saw some weird thing that just popped up, like an article that they're blaming Harrison Ford for the low ticket sales of Captain America. I didn't know. I had to kind of look at this. There's some article that says that. I don't know.
That's not how the Force works.
It's funny because I really don't think that Harrison Ford is going to move the needle one way or another there.
You know why they're blaming him now?
Because he's a white guy?
Yep. We got to start. We brown folk and minority folk got to start the campaign now and remind people that if something's failing in America, it's because of them. Wait, why am I talking in a Southern accent? It's because you white people, you are doing the oppression.
Oh.
Yeah, ustedes son racistas.
So you're in like the war zone right now. So what's it like out there?
I don't know. It's all right. I mean, I'm just, I don't know, dude. It's weird. We're driving around and seeing people still wearing masks here 4 years later. It's like they're everywhere.
Well, now I can understand it because of the smoke and shit in the air.
I mean, it's not. I mean, maybe, I guess. I'm not in LA proper. I'm like out
okay.
in what's called the Inland Empire.
Fancy schmancy places?
Huh?
Fancy places or just like decent places?
No, suburb. I'm like in the Wisconsin of like, I'm in the Wisconsin of LA.
The urban suburbs?
Where are you now? Now you look like you're, it's not as cool as your usual setup.
I'm on the road in California at my mom's house in San Bernardino.
Oh, it's very cool. Sorry.
He's visiting Mexican Iron Mom.
We were just backstage. He was asking me about my mom. Why would he ask me about my mom unless I was here?
Iron Madre Mexicana.
That's the problem when you have a superstar like Price Reason on the show. He's so busy like in hair and makeup and in his little green room getting his little, chiclets and his jelly beans and his little VIP crap. He doesn't listen to
He
what the
does want all white chiclets.
Yeah,
Only white
to
chiclets.
price the reason I'm just the hired helper around here.
Estoy muy feliz, señor.
Yes. Translation, he wants to get deported for those of you watching at home. Thank you.
I was just kidding,
I'm
Mikey.
not
It
trying to
looks
get you
great.
deported.
But it does look like your mother's place, because usually you have all this kind of badass stuff going on. This looks like exactly... It looks like this would be your mother's place, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I was just kind of surprised.
Well, it is. Do you think Mexican Iron Man buys dishes like that and puts them in a cabinet?
No, usually only, I don't want to say older people, but those kind of dishes in a cabinet is a different demographic. It's not really the Mexican Iron Man.
If Mikey had those kind of dishes, they'd have like Star Trek and John Wayne on them.
Exactly.
Well, I do have a china cabinet at my house, and guess what it's filled with? Nothing but like high-end like collectibles, including a Bat-Tom action figure, Mexican Iron Man action figures, Doomcock action figure, Batman collectible.
And I got to note that Bat-Tom figure you hijacked and stole.
Tom, I look, Andy sent it to me to send to you because he didn't have your address. And I got to be honest, he showed me.
That was his first mistake. He knew what he was doing.
He sent me pictures and he says, "So what do you think? Am I doing a good job?" I'm like, you know what? You should send it to me. And then I can take like a final look. And then if there's anything wrong with the hands or the sculpt, I can let you know. And then
that's how you got it in your house. I see.
And then he sent it to me. And then I was like, Mike.
Because he's one of the few people who actually has my home address.
Right. That's how I did it. And then, he asked, he sent a text, "Hey, how does Tom like this action figure?" "Oh, bro, I've been traveling. I'm going to get it to him ASAP." And then we got on a live stream together with Doomcock and he's backstage, "Hey, so you sent him his action figure because I haven't heard from him." "Oh, yeah, it's ready to go out." That's 3 months later. Another 3 months goes by. I happen to run
all the while. I think Andy kept asking, "Did you get a package by chance?" I'd be like, "No."
And then finally I had a crack when Andy's like, "Are you going to send it to him?" And I'm like, "Well, I meant to." He's like, "Why haven't you sent it?" I'm like, "It looks so good right next to my Mexican Iron Man. They're like buddies. They're like together."
I don't mind. I'm not against it. But now I feel empty because I don't have a Mexican Iron Man.
Oh, well, then I'll get you one.
To YouTube Vengers.
Oh, I'll get you one.
And I don't have a Doomcock or any of that stuff. But
all right, I'll work on that.
What I do have is a wonderful audience out there. No homo. I love you all. How you doing tonight? I'm sure you've seen all the Twitter bullshit. Yeah, that's what happens when I go in to stick up for RMB and Robert Meyer Burnett and trigger the fucking Snyder homos. But anyhow, and no offense to any fans in the chat. I mean, if you're not a jerk, then you're not a Snyder homo. That's all there is to it. ActionCom says, "Good night, Andre. Good night, Tom. Good night, Price. Good night, Nick. Good night, Six. Good night, Mikey boy." Are you going to bed? Or am I missing something? Oh, this is the Waltons though. This isn't Little House on the Prairie. I figured it out though. I feel proud of myself.
They didn't do that on Little House on the Prairie?
No, fuck no.
Oh.
The kids would go to bed and dad and mom would get it on because you know how many kids they had? There was like dozens of them.
Yeah, they had kids like Mexicans.
Yeah, they were like Mexican kids all over the place. Well, and cheap labor. America was built on that kind of cheap labor, In fact, I think by the end of the run, I mean, some of these I think are husbands, but still, like this was all the kids in the cast, I think. Almost as big as some families around here. But
Can you imagine if now they did if they did Little House on the Prairie, you know what they would do, Tom?
Well, we already kind of know, and that's kind of one of our topics.
This is how they should do it. Like this would be like for a modern audience. It would be Little House in the Section 8 government housing.
I did a meme.
Price I was just going to say, I like your version here, Price, and it's going to be in our upcoming video.
Great.
Here's the Netflix version here.
The funny thing.
I was kidding. Is this for real?
No, this is the
Oh.
version, but
I did like an AI, and I just did Little House on the Prairie this is the reimagined version, and I did a tweet where I was just saying Netflix is reimagining Little House on the Prairie, and there were seriously a lot of people that thought that this was the picture from Netflix. Like, no joke. People were like, "Wow, this is
I
even
could
worse
see
than
him
I
doing
thought."
that. They would try to turn it into like some slave story or something like that. It's like
Something
we're going
like that.
back.
Oh, Little
Well,
House
a
on the
couple 50,
Plantation.
100 years, and yeah.
Little House on the Plantation.
Exactly. Yes. So anyhow, we're gonna get into that in just a few minutes here, but thank you for that action com. And then flying blind on a rocket cycle. He's not flying so blind. Oh, and by the way, I think I owe everybody a little dance from last show. How was that? That's the best I'm gonna do for now, because for the goals,
I thought you were supposed to do that
Mikey will
online
do
naked.
a dance. Okay, now this week it's Mikey.
No, I can't. I'm like not at home right now. I'm like,
So you just do a dance. You just
no,
kinda
not approved. Not approved. Chat,
do the
don't
Trump
listen.
dance.
Chat, do not listen to Thomas Connors Jr. Shit, you already posted it. Damn it.
Yeah, now it's in the thing. You got to do it. It's like legal.
Oh my God, what a great live stream it was. Bye, everybody.
But it's legal now. And flying blind on a rocket cycle sent us a Shiba dog with a thumbs up. Thank you for that, reminding us to hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. We got Kalekioki in the house. How you doing, my friend? Gifting a membership. Thanks for that, and congratulations to whoever got it. Jeremy Embry says, "Man, no Snyder Bros will not leave you alone." Yeah, they're just continuing. I moved on. I proved my point, right? So I'm done. Yeah, the point was proven. And basically it was to prove that they are just nasty, toxic assholes. And not all Snyder fans are this, but those Snyder Bro fans are. And I'm sorry, Mikey, you were ever a part of that.
You know, I actually tried to respond to one of those weirdos that was talking to you. And it's like, you're talking to just, I don't want to say it like, I don't want to use a bad word, but they're not really thinking or anything. They're not using their brains. It's like,
honestly, I don't know how many are bots, how many are from outside this country, how many are like truly mentally fucking retarded.
I mean, they were arguing about the amount of money some of those movies made, and it's clear. First of all, it's clear that whatever money they made, it's much less than what was expected of them.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and
You can
they just
also
go
shut Snyder Bro hose up pretty easily by saying rank all Snyderverse movies against the top fill in the blank 5, 6, 7 Marvel pictures.
right.
I mean, literally, because nothing pisses out as a Snyder Bro in recovery, and as a lifelong DC fan, nothing pisses all of us more off than knowing that out of nowhere Marvel came up and just absolutely whooped our collective DC character asses.
Well, they don't see the irony,
Cinematically.
first of all, in that, because they act like I'm the one who's like spurging out and crying or coping or having some bad day. It's like, okay, well, first of all, it just took one of me to send however many of you and your sock puppet accounts there are spurging out for days now. Like, and they do every time they do, because I do this once, every few months. I'll get them going, and they do. They go on like fucking piranha for days.
I'm gonna go once every 3 to 5 weeks.
Maybe it depends. Like this time, like I said, I was prompted because I saw Robert Meyer Burnett was knee deep in the shit, and I'm like, oh, dude, you should have never even done it. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to come and say, my boy, you know, because Robert didn't know what he got into. Poor soul. And I did. I had to take some fucking fire for him, and I did. I've done it before. And you know what? They come at me with the same shit.
Me and RMB
time.
me and RMB agree on a lot of stuff as fans and almost nothing politically, and I will take a bullet for RMB.
Yes,
Like,
and that's my point, right? Like, I mean, and not only that, because I know he probably would for me too, in most cases. But at this point, it was like, dude, I know he stepped in and didn't realize he did. I think, because look, I love Robert, but he has this naivety when it comes to fandom. Do you get my drift? Like, he thinks that
Yeah, 100%.
all fandoms have like these people in it who think logically because they're fans. It's like, no, I'll tell you at least one of those subset groups that doesn't, and it's the Snyder Bro fandom. And that's one of the reasons why you left. And I
Oh
know
yeah,
that.
we're crazy. We're crazy.
And
I was
again, I
nuts.
just proved my point last night because you had one of them coming out creating
No, we're nuts.
false allegations and all kinds of other shit on me.
If anyone
And it
wants,
literally took one tweet for them to start into the ad hominem attacks, right?
right? Because right, yeah, like to get a sense of what a Snyder Bro is like, just look at any of my Twitter posts related to deportation and just fill in the blank with Snyderverse stuff.
And I don't want to sit here and shit on the Snyder fans, or because I know we got
lost.
fans in the chat. But
We
that's the other
lost.
thing. I mean, look, I
willing to
even
take the
saved
L.
I
We
even
lost.
saved my ace for last. It's like I sat here and I'm like, all right, because I was waiting for certain individuals to make certain moves. They did that. Certain people did certain things that I expected them to do. They did that. Like this whole thing was kind of strategized. That's what people don't realize about me when it comes to me trolling with these fuckers. Like I have an end game. And I got my end game in spades this time. Because motherfucker went over the edge. Like I'm used to you look like a fucking talking thumb. You've never touched a woman. You live in your mom's basement. Your mom left you. Whatever, whatever insult they can come up with. But the dude creating, this that I'm on the sex offender list was hilarious in a way. It almost made me laugh, right? It was just stunningly hilarious. But the part that bothered me about it, or not really bothered me, but I thought that was just kind of indicative of those extreme fans of that group, is he was posting it everywhere and tagging everybody he could think of in it. And it's like, dude, really? It's like, if I really wanted to be a jerk, that's not only is that defamatory, that's libel. And I mean, there's all kinds of things I could legally get into, but the dude's probably not even from the US. Like you were saying, he's probably from Ghana. He's probably one of these people running one of Zach's bot farms. Because that's the other thing, is most of these are like 12 sock puppet accounts from the same person. I figured that out a long time ago too. So anyway, these guys think that they're getting me when in the end, all I'm doing is showing them off. I'm showing them off to all the other people exactly how they are. Because they're these toxic people who will create shit. They are exactly what all the executives said they were.
You remember how Script busted me on Mead? He was talking about, I think you and him broke that. I don't know if you broke the story, but you were talking about how Snyder had bought farms, and then Script made a comment like he bet that every single one Snyder fan had multiple other accounts to push the Snyderverse narrative.
Oh yeah,
and I was on live stream and I said, "How did you know I did that?" Because I did. I had
not just that. It got proven that
accounts.
Zach paid for bot farms. And then comic book history. What's the point in suing him? Right. First of all, he's got to be in the US for me to even, and then I got to find him. It's just pointless. It's just stupid. Anybody who's dumb enough to believe him, well, that's their own problem. At the end of the day, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. So thank you much, though, Jeremiah, for the support, man. Then we got Corbin Dallas here, who's been here for a month. Says, I got another title change for the new Falcon movie. Crapped on America 4. Oh, that's pretty good. Also, Elf is lame. There you got a friend there in the Elf camp.
Corbin Dallas is a man of great wisdom, of intellectual fortitude, and fantastic taste, and I salute and commend his participation in tonight's live stream on behalf not only of Midnight's Edge After Dark, but of my people. Thank you.
Seems like you practiced that.
Nope.
Then we got Patrick Robinson sending in $4.99 and says, the faculty is getting a remake. Another one? Never understood the love for that movie. The faculty is technically a remake, isn't it, of the Body Snatchers? If that's the one I'm thinking of. Someone help me out here, right? Like, am I wrong?
What?
The faculty.
They already made this movie, and I think it sucked already last time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so we got 10 hours ago, Robert Rodriguez. Oh, so he's got another one on his plate. Shit. Andre's not going to like this because we're doing a video about some of this stuff. So here's another one to add to the fire. Okay, so I guess. But my point was, isn't this already a remake basically of Body Snatchers, I thought? Sci-fi thriller became a box office hit and cult favorite. Robert Rodriguez, who directed the original, will produce the new film. Okay. Breakout talent Drew Hancock is writing the remake script. Hancock debut feature companion, blah, 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 blah. The original version of the faculty focused on a Group of students who began to suspect that offbeat administration teachers in their high school were hiding a deadly secret. The original movie boasted us. Yeah, they're all like, yeah, it's like body snatchers. So it already is kind of a quasi remake. Oh boy, and Script Doctor, back me up on this. Wasn't The Faculty basically a remake of the fucking Body Snatchers already?
It's a variation of it. Hello.
Yeah, basically. And how you doing?
I'm doing good. Just got in. Happy to see you guys there and everyone out in the chat. Hope you're having a good night.
Well, we just got in here when we were clued into this. It's like, why?
Well, executives are idiots and they go with what's safe and they think this is a safe idea. It's a little bit of an echo with regards to, because you brought up Body Snatchers. I mean, that was remade in the 70s after about 25 years. However, there was authorship to that remake.
Right. And I mean, my point is like, yeah, we've had how many movies that are clearly inspired by Body Snatchers? Like all the way up to like movies like They Live, you can even kind of say give nods to it in a way.
There's a Jeffrey Wright and Daniel Craig movie called Invasion that was the Body Snatchers.
That was actually technically an actual Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake, but yeah. Yeah, so this whole thing just kind of is like whatever. But anyhow, so yeah, you came in just as we're getting to this news, and this is coming from Drew Hancock. I don't know if you know that name at all.
Drew Hancock, familiar, but I can't place it right now. I'll have to do a quick search to get my mind jogged.
Says he did the movie Companion or whatever it is here.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's Drew Hancock director. And he's been around for a bit. Done some writing stuff. What else? I remember him. He used to work with the Tenacious D back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did some of their like videos and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Whoops, let me get this off the screen.
Yeah, he looks like a kid still.
Interesting.
So it's that
All right.
script with the voice of a 12-year-old.
He's got
Well,
a point
yeah.
there.
I mean,
I've
the
got some
funny
great
thing is,
scenes.
we know that
'Cause you never
script's, I know
smoked,
that
you
script's
lucky
12
bastard.
years old because he was on the Doogie Howser show and he transported in time.
But he's like really tall, so how's that plausible? So he's like Baron? Is that what you're saying? Anyway, Kalekioki says villain for Cap 4 has been revealed. Movie is DOA. Well, I thought it was what's his face?
Well, it's the leader. It's Red Hulk.
Oh, the
it's,
leader thing.
One,
Yeah, that's right.
It's Giancarlo Esposito. There's a
Yeah.
lot of antagonists in this film apparently.
Yeah. And I saw the image, if that's what you're talking about, of the leader. And yeah, he looked bad. It's like, what did you do to him? Let me see if I can bring it up here.
Yeah, if Universal was doing it under the auspices of Paramount, I think the leader would have looked a lot better than.
It's like
That still.
he handed a Bud Light to Dr. Doom from Fan Four Stick. Yep, and somebody else thought the same thing I did. Right there.
Which is weird because this doesn't look like it's a proper shot of the frame. It looks like it's like raw footage. The lighting and the distortion.
Yeah, it almost looks like that's part of the camera right there to the left.
Yeah, because part of me is wondering, like, because I do know that there are some filmmakers that do this technique where they do a minimalist makeup job and then they just use CG to alter it so it, has a better final product. Would that be the case here? I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll have to see, I guess. Not that I'm really planning on rushing out to see this one.
No.
So, all right, let's get into the topics at hand. Boy, oh boy, we got a little bit to talk about here because aside from The Faculty and Resident Evil that are getting rebooted again,
Yay.
yeah, we're getting Little House on the Prairie. And this took everybody by storm yesterday. I didn't realize it was that popular still. I mean, I thought I was one of the only people who still gave a shit.
I'm just baffled by this announcement in two regards. One is that, I mean, we were making fun of this earlier, but pre-show, but I mean, how do you even sell something like this these days? Or do you? I mean, is this like a
Well,
I
that's
mean,
just it. Are they going to update it in some way that's going to ruin it?
Little House on the Section 8 housing?
Well, like we said before, a Little House on the Plantation, and especially
Yeah,
like
Little
it's
House on the
Netflix.
Plantation.
They're
Little
just
Foreign
such
Nationals in the Migrant Detention Center. I mean, where do we go
Ooh.
with this?
That's what they did, by the way, with Wonder Years. They're like, we're rebooting the Wonder Years. And what was it? A family that was black living during the civil rights movement, basically dealing with, like, that's not the Wonder Years. You know what I mean? It's fine if you want to make a show about a family that lived through that period of time. You could still have somebody narrating. But the fact that they tried to pass it off as the Wonder Years is really annoying. And didn't that show end after 2 seasons? Didn't that show fall off a cliff?
Oh yeah.
Well, and you know what would have been better for that Wonder Years reboot is if they just did a show that was like Wonder Years. Like, look at the Goldbergs. That's really what the Goldbergs was making fun of Wonder Years. And it was a hit for a season or two. And I mean, that Wonder Years reboot probably would have had more of a chance if they had just done it as its own thing, like in the vein of or from the producers of or whatever. And it's just following a black family through that same time period, right?
Didn't
Right.
they
That's
kind of do
fine.
that with Blackish with Lawrence Fishburne?
Is that what that word was? I don't know. I never watched it.
Wasn't
so it could've
100%
been-
sure, but I thought
Well,
so.
you even got Everybody Hates Chris and the
Totally.
other shows that were basically the same thing too. But yeah,
Everybody Hates Chris actually was quite a good show. I thought it was pretty amusing from what I've seen of it.
that was already doing the satirizing Wonder Years in a sense with having Chris Rock narrate his childhood, basically. Yeah.
I think isn't like D.L. Hughley doing that as well, or who's the other short black comedian that was kicked off the Oscars?
Kevin Hart
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, yeah. What isn't he doing one too? Or
might be. I know The Rock
Yeah.
did one.
yeah,
I feel bad for saying this, but I feel like that D.L. Hughley guy is a guy that always, I don't know if to say that they always try to make him a thing, but he somehow never really,
taken off. Yeah,
I feel like he's never really.
He was one of those comedians from the 90s that they tried to push as he's black, but he's safe, white America. And it's like, yeah,
Like
we don't
Martin
care.
Lawrence.
We'd rather watch Eddie Murphy. Yeah, we'd rather watch. Well, Martin was actually more like Eddie Murphy. They tried to make him like that. It didn't.
Right.
And I think that's what drove him partially nuts. But that could be. But yeah, anyhow, you're right. Like, yeah, it's like this. Or Wayne Brady is another version of that. You know what I mean? It's like, look, white America, it's a safe black man. It's like, no, we're cool. We got Chris Rock, we got Eddie Murphy, we're good.
By the
Or
way,
Martin.
my friend Mr. Brown Alliance in the chat is asking if one of the cast members of Little House on the Prairie ended up doing prawn. Is there's such a thing?
Was
feel
it one
like
of the
that's
boys
different
or something like
strokes.
that, or one of the girls? Oh, wasn't it the girl who played Nellie? Wasn't it?
I didn't even know.
It
I knew
might have been a rumor. If not, somebody in the chat would know.
I thought that Kimberly from Different Strokes ended up on those type of.
A few of those kids did.
Yes, but I didn't know that Little House on the Prairie had one as well.
I don't know for sure. I swear there was like something to do with the chick who played Nellie, though. Later down the road, she did something. But of course, Melissa Gilbert, she became the head of the Actors Guild for how many years? Script?
oh gosh, a while.
God, it was like 20 some years, I think it was.
And what
but
did she have a sister on Roseanne, or is
Yeah,
that like
Sarah.
yes,
yeah?
Yep, that's her sister on Roseanne.
Didn't
Who actually, I
didn't-
think she popped up on the show a few times here, if I'm not mistaken.
maybe, and then she was on Big Bang Theory. They kind of tried to make her a thing in the early season or something, but then they kind of just got rid of her.
well,
And
she started doing that show, and then she got the talk show that her daytime thing, and so she left Big Bang for that essentially because that was
If you're
in the
talking
works at
about
the
Sarah,
time.
she was on there mainly just because that was a reunion of those two from Roseanne. That's why.
Oh no, it was
Right.
the gimmick because they even brought back Laurie Metcalf to play Sheldon's
Yeah.
mom.
That was a big reunion thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess so.
because Chuck Lorre used to write for Roseanne, I think, for a brief time.
Oh,
Yeah, because if you remember, Dave and her were living in their basement for like the last 5 years of the show, basically, something like
Yeah.
that, or until they moved out finally.
I've always found Sarah Gilbert kind of annoying. She didn't do anything personally to me. There's no reason for me to say she's annoying.
She
but-
rubs me in the way that she's got to be one of those uber lesbian fuck you man
Yes.
types.
I guess you're saying what somehow was in the back of my mind. I didn't quite know how to put it in words, but now that you've said that, I think that you're in the right direction. Maybe that vibe doesn't rub me the right way.
Well, back to Little House on the Prairie, because I'm actually a fan of the show. I grew up on it. I think most of
Really?
us did.
I saw more
mean,
Highway to Heaven if you're talking like Michael Landon and stuff.
I loved that show too. I mean, but this show was in constant syndication, and it may have even still been on the air when I was born. I'm trying to remember because this fucking show went.
It ended in '83, so yeah, it was still
forever.
around.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was on forever.
Yeah, it was 9 seasons. Oh yeah, it was 9 seasons. Had a bunch of crazy stories for
And
it.
they did a pretty good job adapting most of the books from my memory. It's been a while since I watched it. I remember rewatching the first season here not too long ago. And I remember reading the books because it was like fucking required reading around here. You know, being that it takes place in Minnesota, that was, oh yeah, that was a big deal for our teachers that they pushed this shit onto us. So I do remember reading the first book, and I do remember that pilot episode and first few episodes do follow the books pretty closely. I mean, I know they moved some things around, but I mean, if anybody wants to correct me in the chat, I thought they were pretty good adaptations, but then it went off on its own, you know, as the show progressed. I mean, as you do. But I mean, it was to me a staple. And they did try to reboot this once already. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. On Disney, no less.
No.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Disney tried doing this back in 2004. It was a mini series, probably a test pilot of sorts, more or less. But yeah, but I don't even remember it, and I didn't even realize it until we were doing research for our recent video. So I was like, oh, I guess they already tried this once already. So yeah, it looks like here it was back in 2004.
Yep.
Look at that kid. I mean, like, she looks
Troubled.
weird. Yeah. She's like she's gonna eat your soul. Not like little Laura Ingalls. So yeah, I just don't understand Netflix doing this, but I mean, I do at the same time, because yeah, they can't try anything new. Why would they do that? They would never make a show like Little House on the Prairie, or like we were talking about before, you know.
Well, you know what? You never know. They actually might have a couple of originals out there that they just haven't pushed as hard because they're not existing IPs. I mean, there's a Netflix showcase coming up soon of all the Netflix shows, and nobody ever manages to watch all of them or even find or talk about all of them, because they put out a ton of content, because Netflix has a very similar user base to YouTube. As long as they're putting out something new relatively daily, even if it's part of the series or what have you, that generates, clicks and interactions, which is what they need to share with their shareholders, especially considering the fact that they've upped their prices again. And they're doing that for a number of reasons. Number one, is to try and squeeze as much money out of their subscriber account. Two, it's their expansion of their bandwidth for live sports. Three, it's also to kind of beef up their revenue stream, because Netflix's model actually doesn't allow them to report any legit profit. I mean, the people that work for Netflix make money, the investors make money, but the operation itself is always operating at an extreme loss. So it's not a very useful platform, because it operates like a tech giant, and it's fortunate to be the only tech giant that has actually lasted as long as it has, because all others that have come and gone were always short-lived.
Well, I'll always have the original. I don't need Netflix's new version.
Yeah,
But here's the story that was brought up earlier, I think before you got here, Script. Anthony Mackie says, chill the fuck out over comparing Red Hulk to Donald Trump, responds to fans who called him the rudest celebrity. Well, I've heard he's pretty rude. But so yeah, this is what's going on about the whole supposedly Harrison Ford's gonna tank this movie now, supposedly.
I mean, I've always, prior to all this, regardless of what politics he likes or doesn't like, I've always thought Anthony Mackie seemed fine. Like, he seemed nice and he seemed like a decent actor, and I didn't dislike him. I don't know what's going on now. Some of these actors just say the dumbest things sometimes.
Well, again, that's why they're actors. They're not supposed to have their own opinions, and when they do, it's really aping someone else's that they find into higher esteem, or writes their checks. You're not supposed to take them seriously. I mean, how many times have we seen Sean Penn make some sort of crazy political statement only for it to like blow up back in his face, if not hours later, like weeks or months later? He's a fool.
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem is that they started thinking that they're much more clever than they are. It's really like Team America World Police. It really is. I think that
Yeah.
was the best representation of it. And I give props to, Trey and Matt that understood exactly what the problem was much sooner than most people did.
Well, they shared the conceptions of what the industry has with regards to the relationship of actors and the audience, and said this is what they actually are behind the cameras, when they're not in front of them, when they're not on the talk circuit, when they're not performing or promoting something. They're not very deep people, and the ones that are few and far between, and they're a rarity. And then there's also like Truman Capote's famous quote, which is I have to paraphrase it because I can't always remember which book it was from, and I also know he repeated it on an interview with the Dick Cavett show, where he basically remarks how the smartest actors are also the worst actors, and the greatest actors are the dumbest people you'd ever met.
I could see that, especially like with people like getting to know Robert De Niro much more than I'd like to lately, for instance.
Al Pacino,
But yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
On that note, honestly, I haven't heard. Has he gotten real political?
Al Pacino hasn't gotten too political. He's done a couple of things, but he's the type of guy who the reason his career peaks and valleys is because he gets honeypotted a lot. So he has to keep paying for divorces and alimony and all that type of stuff. So
Hoo-ah.
yeah,
The whoas take all the money. Hoo-ah.
I met Al Pacino once.
What did he say to you?
Well, actually, I have a selfie with him, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but basically, I met him at a cocktail. I know how dumb that is, but it really is true. I met him at a cocktail party, and at the time, people didn't even do a lot of selfies and stuff. It was kind of a new thing, and I said, I took my camera, and I just talked to him for really briefly and told him how great he is and stuff. Like, what am I going to say? It's Al Pacino. I didn't really know what to say, so I took out my camera, which I usually wouldn't do, and to do a selfie with him, and he and I did a selfie. So I actually have a selfie with me and Al Pacino at a cocktail party. And then about like a week or two later, he's on one of those Mario Lopez, the Access Hollywood, one of those things. I don't know what it's called. You know what I'm talking about? The
yeah,
Mario
like
Lopez,
Hollywood Story or E or something.
one of those
Hollywood.
stupid things that Mario
Yeah.
Lopez smiles and collects a paycheck and talks about nonsense. So he was on that, and he was interviewing Al Pacino. And then he says to Al Pacino, he said, "Hey, Al, have you ever taken a selfie with anybody?" And Al says, "No, I've never done that." So he's like, "So let's do this, and I'll be the first person you take a selfie with." And then Mario Lopez takes the camera, does a selfie, and shows it. And it's a lie because I'm the first selfie. I don't know if I'm the first, but I have a selfie with Al Pacino. It's before that jerk off.
Did Al Pacino even know that what that you did with him was called a selfie?
I don't know if I explained that. I just said, "Hey, we're going to take a picture," and then I did the selfie. So
Did Al Pacino?
I thought I was going to get a hand job.
Did Al Pacino
Hoo-ah.
provide any resistance to you because he was saying the picture taken with a yarn puppet?
No, I was actually I did like a shape shifting and looked like a regular person at that cocktail party. So he wouldn't have known that I'm a yarn puppet. It wasn't like at Comic-Con. It was just really me. And yeah, he was very nice. He seemed really down to earth. Like he didn't seem full of himself. He seemed really nice. I don't really know how else to describe it, but he gave off a good vibe.
All right. Well, we've got the big story of the night, though, and this is why Mikey is here.
I just want to say that as you bring this up, this story that appeared today is exactly what I was talking about 2 days ago. I mean, exactly what I was talking about 2 days ago.
All right, so break this down for us, my friend. What is going on here?
Well, you're going to read it? We should read it for the people.
Well, does somebody want to read it for me? Because I suck at reading.
I'll
and
read. Okay,
to
I'll
be
read
honest, I gotta go start something over on Midnight's Edge. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, send me
Pablo's all like freaked out.
put
I
the
don't
link
know.
in the thing here. I'll read it. All right, let me read it. I'm going to read it and share my screen. Okay, so Paramount ordered to release Skydance merger records to investor looking into corporate wrongdoing. Script, can I get some sound effects? Dun dun dun.
I told you.
Dun dun dun. All right,
Dun,
let me share my screen. Present, share screen so that people can follow along. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. The Employees Retirement System of Rhode Island accuses controlling shareholder Sherry Redstone of, quote, usurping Paramount's corporate opportunities with this $8 billion deal. Oh, this stupid ad. I need to get ad blocker. Okay. A judge, for God's sake, a judge has granted the Employee Retirement System of Rhode Island request to obtain books and records from Paramount Global related to its pending $8 billion merger with Skydance Media. In May, the pension fund, which owns Paramount stock, asked the Delaware Court of Chancery to order the media giant to turn over documents and communications related to the two parties' discussions, citing concerns that controlling shareholder Sherry Redstone and her holding company, quote, National Amusements, had usurped Paramount's corporate opportunities. At the time, ERSI said the inspection would investigate for, quote, potential wrongdoing, including whether to seek equitable relief to ensure Sherry Redstone and NAI do not profit from their wrongdoing. In a filing on Wednesday, Vice Chancellor J. Travis Lester wrote that ERSI had shown by a preponderance of evidence that there is credible basis to infer potential corporate wrongdoing in connection with the sale of NAI, and that it's entitled to books and records that are both necessary to fulfill its purposes. The parties have disputes on that issue, but the magistrate judge should address the scope of production in the first instance. The parties will submit. Anyway, I can stop reading there. Anyway, so here's the deal. Basically, this goes for those of us who were in chat on Tuesday. I was mentioning one of my last comments in my closing comments was that the problem with Paramount has to do with the way that the stock of this company was structured. Sherry could have fixed this a long time ago. She had multiple opportunities, and the problem with this is that there's two classes of stock. And here's the example that I'll bring for those of you who aren't stock savvy in the chat. Think of it this way. Let's say, for example, Midnight's Edge After Dark, all the Midnight's Edge channels were worth like studio level money. But there's two classes of shareholders. There's people with the class A and the people with the class B. And the way in which money flows and the value flows is that the people who have the class A stock kind of have a little bit more of a sweetheart deal in terms of how much money they'll get for their shares versus how much money the people get on the class B shares. And if you're on the open market buying the stock, the problem with ERSI is that they're complaining that the way the stock is structured, that their shares are going to be disadvantaged to what the buyout would be for Sherry, who has the class A type of founder shares. So anyways, we told you so that this would happen on Tuesday. I said that if everybody's not happy, you're going to have lawsuits coming out of the woodwork, and that this deal could potentially not happen, or I said something to that effect. And not just one day after we had the Midnight's Edge After Dark stream on Tuesday night, this was filed yesterday. This came out yesterday, Wednesday, and was reported on today. So,
yeah, because the story that we put out, we reported on actually got changed in the middle of the night because they had fired off a legal letter. I don't know if you saw that or not, but then this story come out, today. So yeah, continue. Sorry, Mike.
No. I'm going to turn it over to comments from you, Script, and Price of what's your guys' reaction to the script. I'm sure you've got a strong reaction to this.
Well, this kind of reinforces certain rumors, which allege that there were some other people that had a deal that was a bit more lucrative to all the stockholders involved, Class A and Class B. And Shari rejected that for the Skydance one, which we are learning the Skydance deal ends up becoming more lucrative for Shari personally and the people that are Class A stockholders as opposed to the Class B stockholders. And this is part of the allegations that have been brought against her from the Rhode Island Institute. So yeah, this is showing a little bit of conflict of interest, as opposed to her getting the best deal for the company over a whole. She's taking the best deal for herself, is what's being implied with these allegations.
Yeah, and that last part is kind of what I had gathered from it, from my novice understanding of this side of the corporate dealings, because it sure did see. And I mean, it's almost to me, right? Like, and I'm just somebody who's looking at it as an analyst, and I usually analyze movie box office stuff and all that kind of crap. And this stuff is usually like way beyond me. This is one of the reasons we have Mike and
Right.
stuff
And
involved.
so
Like even I could see it. Was my point, was like I could see her maneuvering this in a sense that is like she clearly wants this deal to happen the way it's going to be, the way she wants it, regardless of what other people are offering.
right,
Yeah.
to build on what you and Script are talking about. Price, did you want to say something before I add some more commentary?
No, but I think I've said before that always, Sherry Redstone has always been annoying. She's been annoying when this thing was being run under her leadership. I think that's what happens when you have these type of billionaire people that are thinking in a different way. And I also felt that we talked about it many times, that there were deals that seemed to be in the air. And each time I would say that I thought that she was torpedoing the deal. And you guys said it as well. I didn't always know exactly what her motives are. But the bottom line is, I feel like throughout this whole period of time, she's done the bare minimum to make it seem to investors like she's doing something for them. But it doesn't surprise me if it turns out that she was just doing something for her. It's really on brand.
Yeah, and so to build on what all of you are talking about, here's the problem. And here's why someone like, if I were on the finance team for this investment fund, or any of them, whether it's the retirement system of Rhode Island or anybody that's holding the stock, is that they're sitting here holding the stock, and they're expecting the management that's going to do things that's going to result in a favorable stock price or dividends. Instead, what they're doing is they're seeing what's happening with this transaction, and they're like, okay, wait. So you're telling me that the same management and the owners that have mismanaged this company with their preferred stock, Class A, all this time, are now going to get off the boat. It's a lot like you've got the Titanic, and here we got the people that are going to make sure that they get their life jackets, and they're going to get the boats get off the boat first. Meanwhile, everybody else that's rolling around here in the public equity markets with their little Class B stocks and whatnot is going to, they either got to stay on this boat and hopefully it doesn't sink, and while they're watching other people get a sweetheart deal. And that's not cool. That's not cool. It's especially not cool to this bitch, because someone who really cares about the longevity. Let's go back to our discussion from Tuesday night, where we were talking about the name of the pedigree of the Paramount name, the IPs, what really built that brand in terms of always having the greatest writers, finding the greatest talents, providing opportunities for aspiring talent. If she really cared about the legacy of Paramount on a long-term basis, there's no way that this deal would have been structured in a way that would result in a lawsuit like this. So what she's trying to do is she's trying to be selfish, have her cake, eat it too, and run from this ship and not go down with it.
I think the rumors that someone offered a larger deal to them, but the terms and conditions were that Paramount itself was going to be split up into pieces. And I think she took the Skydance deal because they essentially have said, we're going to keep as much of Paramount together as we legally can.
And does she get to stay? Yeah. Does she get to stay in some role in this case?
No, but she gets a bigger payout this way. That's what I was getting at. Yeah, like this is the thing. Is between what Script just said there, I think that's part of the reason, and I think the other reason is monetary. These guys have been in bed together forever. In fact, like it's been so long now, like I've said, every problem that Paramount has, like 90% of their problems, you can pin directly on Skydance, because Skydance is the ones who produce like most of their movies and shit.
They co-finance with distribution. Like the odd part is that 90% of the problems are Skydance, and then 10% of the successes are Skydance.
Yeah, that's the other problem. You're right. Because it's like, and that's the thing. And this is why I've told people, like, if Skydance buys Paramount, nothing is going to fucking change. Right? Like, it'll almost seem like everything is going the same as it was before. I wouldn't even be surprised if everything just starts rolling just like it was from where they left off, even though like everything is like a dead halt right now. even though we've been hearing rumors about Star Trek, I don't even think Ellison is as worried about that, perhaps. But at the end of the day, they do know they got to make some money and reinvigorate some of these franchises. I mean, hell, we're even hearing rumors now that Shia LaBeouf might be coming back to Transformers. How desperate are they that they're bringing, if that's even true, that they're bringing back a canceled actor to try and reinvigorate the Transformers franchise?
Wow.
Like, that's how desperate they fucking are right now. And if this is true, and they've been batting down these other deals that would ostensibly give the lower tier shareholders more money and also split the company up, which I agree with you, Script. That's what her big thing. Because for those who don't understand what we're getting at here is if they were to split the company up, that would be seen as a loss for her, because her whole thing was she reunited the company after her father split it up, and she did it in a horrible way. I don't know how to explain it, but
she botched up the remerger like atrociously, because again, Sumner split it up for reasons we still not 100% understand.
Part of it makes sense, but the other half of it doesn't, right? It's like, okay, you want to separate your television, CBS, from Paramount. I understand that. Kind of like how Fox and Fox TV were kind of separated in a way.
Right. The funny thing is that there are ways you could do that without actually separating the companies entirely, which is what they did. And it was foolish, because now you basically realize, a lot of the rights that we have that are shared between both studios are now in contention, and that's going to cause permanent partnerships, which also cause conflict of interest if they want to do deals with other studios, which is why you don't try and separate separate companies that share licensing rights of a particular IP unless one side buys it out entirely. And you don't want to do that, because that's another legal nightmare. So Shari was smart enough to realize, like, that's why a lot of Paramount had a lot of problems, because again, Paramount's decline started the instant Paramount and CBS split up.
Yes. And it wasn't just Star Trek that was affected by this, is my understanding.
Everything. Yeah.
It was Mission Impossible.
You have one goal.
The Odd Couple, and any other franchise that was both on television and in movies, I guess, was my understanding. And just Star Trek just happened to be the most prolific, and the one they were doing at the time. And the Tom Cruise one had already been way past the original series. So even if it had to be 25% different, you wouldn't have noticed, because it was already through the studio system and they weren't using any of the characters from the show anymore. So
that's right.
It didn't matter. And guess who was the producer of Part 3, guys? Think about it. The director, all that shit. J.J. fucking Abrams.
Yep.
Who did the Star Trek movies? J.J. fucking Abrams. Who produced, I think Skydance produced all those too. Did they not? The Mission Impossibles, or at least the last few.
Skydance started taking over with Mission Impossible because they had a partnership with Tom Cruise. Oddly enough, J.J. Abrams has been kind of pushed. He only got, I think, 3 credits out of all
he wasn't
all
there
of them.
for so
He wasn't
long,
able to hold on to it, which is why I guess basically he used Mission Impossible as a trial run to try and get licensing and retention rights to it. And because he failed, he learned from that and managed to sink his teeth into Star Trek. Because that's kind of what what has ended up happening. Now, a fun fact, and I mentioned this on a show, on one of my shows with Robert Meyer Burnett, is that you'll notice that Tom Cruise has not worked with J.J. Abrams ever again since Mission Impossible 3.
That's true.
And Tom Cruise is the type of guy who he always speaks highly of the directors he works with, and you barely have ever heard a peep that's not kind of like a boilerplate thing with J.J. Abrams. But whenever he talks about other directors or other people he works with, there's a higher level of focus and conversation going on with them. But when you bring up JJ, it's almost like he kind of puts on a different face. So that's something interesting to take note. And I think that's why that, among with, of course, the track record, that J.J. Abrams is not only in director's jail because, one, he's not really a director, he's mostly a producer. And 2, he's also in producer jail because everything he is trying to get put into production is scrutinized. And people are realizing, okay, yeah, budgets aren't right. Future for this is uncertain. Maybe we don't want to proceed any further.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of gear it back to this whole thing. So, Mike, I know you're not a lawyer, obviously, but you are a Southern gentleman.
No, but I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express with a couple hookers. So, yeah, go ahead.
Not sure how that qualifies, but
That's
but
called
so-
second year law school. In
One of
Yes,
them,
that's true.
one of them was a paralegal. So go ahead.
Paralegal. Oh, so it rubbed off on you.
paying for college. Yeah.
Yeah. So just because you caught an STD from her does not mean you caught the paralegal teachings. Anyhow, so how long do you think this is going to take to kind of sort out? Because I mean, this is one of those things where I hate saying it like this. This is kind of sadistic of me to say, but I mean, this shit could drag out in court long enough to where Sherry Redstone doesn't even survive. But I mean, her dad did for a long time. So
here's the problem with this stuff. What happens with this stuff is that there's always a fork in the road. The fork in the road is give us what we want to see. Well, there's two forks in the road. Fork number one is they give them some documents and usually basically say, look, how do you want us to change this deal to make you happy? Or they say, look, we'll make you a deal. Like sometimes the terms of the, they maybe they'll make some amendments related to the Class B. A lot of this has to do with momentum. It depends if other people pick up on this too, like other stockholders of Paramount. Because if there's more than one or two or three, then it holds up the whole deal because they can't close escrow. It's not really called escrow, but it's similar. It's like buying a house and you get a bad they come and do the inspection of the house, you find out your concrete is cracked. Well, it's one thing, all right, we're gonna fix the concrete. Well, now the roof is leaking, and now that type of thing. So it really depends on how they're able to mitigate this filing and whether or not they can make them happy, and whether or not anyone else decides to like jump on board of making an issue of this stuff. Because there's a tons. Look, this is the Rhode Island retirement system. They're by no means the largest institutional stockholder of Paramount. So a lot of it depends on who else that institutional stockholders want to jump on board with this and take a look at this deal. And so right now what's happening behind the scenes is Sherry's team is like, and her, the people trying to get this deal done are trying to quell them, chill them out, and simultaneously call everybody else and saying, hey, we're talking to these guys and their accusations unfounded. We're giving them some documents, type of thing. Just stay cool, stay chill, and we're going to get this thing done. It's going to be in everybody's interest. That's what's happening behind the scenes, because that's what always happens.
Oh yeah, that's what Shari and her team are doing. But the Rhode Island retirement plan are probably going to say, yep, this is the information that they shared with us. We are going to share it with the rest of the stockholders. If you see what we see, we think that we will like to partner up and make an amendment to the deal to make sure that it is a fair and equitable merger to everyone that has invested in this company.
Yep,
So,
100%. That what Script just said is the exact flip side of the coin that I just said. I was giving you the Sherry side. That Script is 100% on point. That is exactly what these guys are doing. Exactly.
yeah, because they claim in this article that they actually have some evidence that suggests the very reason why they're filing this lawsuit. So it is safe to assume that they have shared that with other investors in their same class,
right,
and have said, this is why we're doing this. If you have any questions, we're hoping to get more information, and we will reveal that as such. And if you see the same issues we have, then this goes into like a class action contest of deal or something like that. I can't remember what the actual legal term is, so I apologize. I only write for.
And that's what I was kind of asking. Yeah, like, I mean, what kind of window are we looking at here? Because this is already under a long ass window of regulations. I mean, they were already. That was the other thing. Like, and this is on top of facing a regulation issue they already were.
Yeah,
right. Because we talked a little bit about that. Yeah, and that wasn't such a big hurdle. But that's what I'm seeing is this is becoming a big hurdle now. And especially if other people start getting involved, especially if they have the evidence you guys are talking about. So let's, go play devil's advocate for a moment and say that, yeah, this does go forward and it puts a dead stop to everything. Then what happens? I mean, for the company itself.
Several months of reviewing the information requested, followed by sharing the information, and then perhaps maybe a vote for action afterwards.
Well, what'll happen to their productions and things
That's
like that?
kind of what I was getting at. Yeah.
Well, they'll still have, because no merger has occurred, any productions that have already begun would just be going as they are, which also might save some productions, because every time a new head of a studio gets involved, they tend to wipe the slate clean of anything that hasn't, gone far enough to the point where they have to execute and release it. So anyone that's working at Paramount right now that feels like their project might be on the chopping block can breathe a sigh of relief, because until this merger happens, they're still able to proceed as scheduled. And there's a chance that their production might actually.
But is there cash flow?
There's always a way to find cash flow in Paramount, unfortunately. The other, again, a lot of studios, while they have their internal cash flow, they don't ever use their own money to really create content.
Right.
Like Paramount still has a great deal with a lot of distributors and with the film markets. And even though they can't get as high of a price per theater that Disney can, they can still get enough that they can make a couple of movies. Yeah, they're going to be smaller. They're probably not going to have as polished effects or cast or anything of that nature, but they'll hit their obligations to basically say, yep, we went to the film market with 20 movies to come out over the next 3 years. We have made sure that those budgets are as close to attainable. And here's the other part too. How many times has Paramount had to reshoot, revamp, rewrite, or do anything with their productions over the last 5-6 years? Almost never. Whereas compared to Disney, that's basically their modus operandi at this point. So as long as they maintain the same deals of like, okay, so Paramount's private cash flow is a little low. However, as long as theaters are buying their productions so that they can be co-financed, they're good to go. Because again, one of the reasons why theaters take that 47 to 52% of ticket sales is because that is essentially paying off what the theaters have already invested into the movie with regards to a pre-sale and then some. And the idea is that once they hit that part of what they've invested that they pay off, that 46 to 52% ends up becoming net profit for the theaters. And that happens a lot sooner than the net profit happens for the studio side.
Well, and they have two, at least other places that they're probably more concerned with, first of all, whether they should be not for the latter I'm about to mention, but CBS and Paramount Plus.
Right.
Right. So like CBS is first. Like they got to worry about stuff for that. So if anything is going to be staying in production, it's going to be that kind of shit. Then anything that's in production for Paramount Plus, then they'll worry about the theatrical stuff, I bet. And again, like we've already pointed out, most of that stuff is already co-financed and produced by Skydance. So like Scripps, I think you're right. It'll just continue to go as planned. They just won't make any major moves or major like decisions until after all this shit is figured out, I guess.
Right. There's not going to be any changing of the infrastructure or staffing or anything that with regards to the development of production. Basically, everybody that's working at Paramount right now knows that whatever their initial deadline was going to be to see if their job was still going to be around by that point has bought themselves anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half. Yeah. You know, short of them making a huge blunder that requires termination. The other part too, and I still keep on getting emails from Paramount Studios. They are looking for a lot of administration type of people. Some in AI content development, some in advertising, some in account management. It's constant. It's I mean, I'm surprised that they're still going out because they're sending out notices once a week for 6 to 8 new job positions that they want to get in there, and including internships for people that have just graduated high school or are already 1 year in college with regards to the tech sector.
All right. Well, is there anything else anybody has to say about this before we move on to any other topics?
I'd say good job, everybody, on talking about this one.
All right. Well, thank you, Mikey, for being here for this, because we would have been lost without you.
Good
Speaking
job.
of, you're in the chat saying Mexican Iron Man for $5. Okay, screw it. I will launch the first 1 of 10 for a Trump dance Mexican style. Arriba. Then we got Patrick Robinson who says, does anybody remember Party of 5 reboot with the Latino family? I kind of vaguely do remember that now that you mention it. Parents were illegals and had to be sent back. No, I'm not. And no, I'm not kidding. Yeah, this wasn't that. Was this during the first Trump years, I think?
I don't know.
I didn't even remember that. Even the original Party of 5 is kind of a downer.
Yeah.
The only highlight there was I think it introduced Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I think that's the only. Oh wait, Nev Campbell was on it too, right?
Nev Campbell, Lacey Chabert was a good one.
Okay, sorry.
That one dude in it too.
I apologize. Nev Campbell and Jennifer Love Hewitt. That is the best thing to come out of that show. Scott Wolf, couldn't care less about him. if that's what
That's
you're
what I was
referring
trying to think of. Yeah,
You
Scott
couldn't even
Wolf,
remember
yeah.
his name. That's how
Exactly. I wasn't
he's
going
been
to argue with you.
forgotten. You know,
The only thing I was going to argue with is Jennifer Love was already pretty much on her way to being a star one way or another before that show.
She was,
She'd been
yeah.
acting for years.
She did bring some assets to this show, though.
Oh yeah, she one way something or another was going to launch her into stardom and had no just because of she is going to.
There was something about her that was
exactly.
Mikey knows what I'm talking about.
Mikey definitely knows, and he would
What are you
love to
talking about?
investigate.
Who?
Boobs,
Who?
Yes, Jennifer Love Hewitt's.
Oh, smoking hot.
huge tits. Jennifer
Mhm.
Love,
Yeah.
huge tits. SFX F314 Sabertooth Raptor, and it's funny you mention her because there's kind of a tangent.
I was referring to her personality, of course.
Of
No,
course,
you weren't,
of course.
liar.
She actually does have a really charming,
I've heard that
personality.
actually about her,
She
which makes
seems
it
like
hard to not like her. But yeah,
hard
She's
to
not a
like
wacko
her.
like
Yes.
Alyssa Milano.
No, she's the opposite. Of
opposite,
So
yeah.
her, Lacey Chabert, who is in what is it, that Mean Girls, those two, because they played sisters, those two are actually like really funny people and very humble and down to earth.
yeah, I've heard stories that of people that have met her and that she's real nice and have worked with her or whatever you want to call it. But yeah. Anyway, SFX 314. Yes, Sadie, I know you're here and you want to play, but guess what? It's not playtime right now. Sabertooth Raptor sends in 5 and says, I vote for Mexican Iron Man to save Star Trek. If he had the power, Elmo is glad he is not in Cap, not new ideas. He is not Red Hulk. Fudge this Smurf.
I just want to say I would be a good financial steward, but as part of running Star Trek, my first hire would be script doctor would be in charge of all show running and all production work. And he would team up with Price the Reason and Tom, who would handle our distribution and our global expansion into products as well. Thank you.
She won't give me the burger. She wants me to throw it before we give it to me. All right. Go get it. All right.
What she wants is your attention.
I know she does. Well, she does this whenever I'm on the show. She, like,
But remember
Never
Bambino
fails.
used to do that?
yes.
Got it.
Action Com says, Mr. Andre on here. We've opened up Midnight's Edge books and found repeated entries for Blu-ray Loop, Elf memorabilia, and something called 6 Spa Day Fun. Explain, please. Oh, you forgot the hookers and the cocaine.
Right.
And that's what I would Mike say.
Because that's what leads me to buy the Elf memorabilia, because I'm on a bender.
Exactly. Or I
Yeah.
buy it just to set him off. You're like, quit buying our stuff. Anyway, Puddle Jumper sends in 5 and says, I feel that so many of these entertainment movie and TV companies have become so monopolized they cannot succeed. It is a strange time. I mean, there's a lot of little companies out there still, but really a lot of them seem to have to go through the big boys or the streamers to get anything done. Wouldn't you say, Script? Or
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that the studios have such a legacy with all the distributors that it's they kind of gobble up all the windows. So what you end up having is, if you are an independent filmmaker, you have to self-distribute, which you have an advantage of with something like Netflix, Tubi, Hulu, Vudu, all of those Plutos, all those streaming models. But the fact of the matter is that unlike network, which for the longest time was 4 networks and a whole bunch of affiliate channels, or syndicated, affiliate channels for syndication. We now have an oversaturation of where you can get your content. So because it's not funneled to a smaller group of platforms, it is a lot harder to find the stuff that you guys out there actually are looking for. Abstractly, that is, like, nobody's making anything specifically for you, but they're making stuff that most likely will appeal to everything that you're looking for, and you would, become a fan of and want to share and watch over and over again. But it's really hard to do that. So when you have that in conflict with also the theatrical system, where now instead of you having a traditional 12-week window, minimum 12-week window for your theater, it's between 4 and 6 weeks, because it's all about getting onto that streaming platform because of different overhead, which I think the studios are slowly starting to realize is more expensive than the physical media overhead.
well, I hope so. But it's going to be an interesting time here in the next few years to see how things go, because nobody could have predicted a lot of what we're running into, and it's going to be a weird few months and years. Last call with Troy Pacelli. He's been a member for 29 months. Thank you for that. Also sends in a super chat and says, question, anyone want a $5? Thanks for the show, gents. Well, thank you. And I guess I'll take it. Even though I think YouTube takes like 30%. But yeah, flying blind on a rocket cycle sends in two and says, hey, Sadie, get Tom. I think she finally settled down. She got what she wanted. I threw her burger. She squeaked it. She's laid down now. So I think she's content. That's all it needed. So with that, we're caught up on the super chats. And yeah, we had one real more quick story I wanted to get to. Six brought this to my attention initially. And then I saw another part of it, and it's all starting to come together now. So I know you guys are not exactly the biggest of Scream fans on the panel.
Yeah, I'm
I
going to
don't
bow
mean-
out of. I'll stay on the panel, but I'll bow out of this discussion because I haven't seen any of these movies.
Okay, now not only are we getting Matthew Lillard back, so I was like, at first I was like, okay, are they going to do that? Because for years there was this thing running around that they were going to try and bring Stu Macher back by having it either be a twin brother that we never knew about, or that he somehow survived and he had been in prison all this time and we didn't know about it and nobody bothered to mention it. Those were
Right.
the two storylines they were going to go with for the longest time. Then all of a sudden, this comes across my feed. They're also bringing back Scott Foley, who played Sydney's brother in part 3. I know what they're fucking doing. They're doing the fucking ghost thing like they did with Ghost Dad. Like, no, what the fuck are you doing, you stupid fucks?
They're doing a Ghost Dad, like the Cosby movie Ghost Dad?
You remember for 5 and 6, that's been the gimmick, is the daughter of what's his face, the other killer. I just forgot his name.
Billy?
Billy Loomis's daughter has been seeing her father, and her father's been like, go get him, daughter, and all that kind of shit through the last 2 movies. Have you not seen this garbage in the last 2 movies?
No, I stopped after Scream 4.
Oh, fuck, it's wretched, man. And that's what they're going to end up doing. I can guarantee you. That's why they're bringing back all these people. Everybody's going to have their own ghost person.
Their own, like, spirit.
Yeah.
You know, guardian angel, or in this case, a guardian,
Killer.
conspirator, murderer. Yeah, like the whole Billy Loomis having a daughter thing doesn't add up in any capacity.
It's
because
stupid.
She'd have to be 32 years old, but I'm guessing that she is not in the new movies, right?
She is slightly older, so they might be kind of ish, I guess you could say. It is really stupid. And the stupid
Scream was like what, 94, 95?
Yeah. And honestly, her being a daughter, an illegitimate daughter, doesn't bother me. The part that bothers me, yeah, it's 96 is when the first one came out. The part that bothers me is that she sees visions of him and they have conversations, and like he's like egging, like now he's kind of being seen as more of like a good guy in it's not exactly it's really hard to explain without seeing it. And when you see it is the dumbest shit in the fucking world. And they carried it on through the next movie. But now that I'm seeing all these old cast members come back, even though Kevin Williamson's directing it, he would have been smarter to just disregard 5 and 6 and just done something else entirely. Because at this point, he's just going to bring back everybody. And they're all going to be ghosts.
What's fascinating about the entire Scream franchise is that its inciting incident, which happens off screen, is the fact that Sydney's mom was a whore.
Well, that's what I love about part 3, and everybody gets down about it. It's like, why? What's wrong with part 3? I love part 3. Part 3 wraps things up in a nice little bow. It makes sense because it also ties up the loose ends from the first movie, because I was part of the forums back in the day, long before social media was a thing, going, yeah, there's got to be a third killer because it doesn't add up. There's certain scenes that just, there's got to be a co-conspirator that they don't mention that's in the background that set this whole thing in motion. And it makes sense. I mean, is it a little convoluted? Yes. 3 has some issues, and that's also where I think they're getting this shit from to begin with. Because here's the thing, in part 3, if you guys recall, is where Sydney sees her mom. Well, it's because she's having fucking, both an emotional breakdown, and her brother is fucking with her, and he works in Hollywood, so it could be reason to believe that he has many things that he could use at his disposal to make her actually think she is seeing her mother. And I think one of those major sequences was in a dream. And I think they're forgetting that. I mean, it's been like a year since I've watched Scream 3, but I'm pretty sure that's what I recall from the movie. Because like there, it makes more sense. Here, it's when they brought Ghost Dad into the mix, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And the only reason anybody went to see those last 2 were because of Jenna Ortega being in them, playing her little sister, and that's it. Let's be real. That's the real reason. But this is just a mess. And I don't know if Price has anything to say on this or anybody else, but that's my hunch.
I
is
feel
they're
like
gonna-
Jenna Ortega, they made it seem like she jumped ship because of the politics that went on there. But I feel like she probably, after she became bigger, just didn't want to be in that movie anyways.
No, I think rumor was that she had to shoot Wednesday or something else like that, or season 2 or
She
something.
had that was the type of movie that she was making on the rise, and I think that now she's in a different place. And I don't know if she had a deal in place and she wanted more money, or she just, like you said, was busy doing other stuff. But I think it was convenient for her to jump that ship.
Yeah, so what Price is talking about, for those who may not have any clue, I can't remember the actress's name, but she's the one who actually plays the daughter of Billy Loomis and is the older sister of Jenna Ortega. She got fired from this movie because
Melissa
of her, Melissa
Guerrero,
Barrero, that's it,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Over her some comments that had to do with the conflict going on, over there with Hamas and all that shit or whatever. So that they let her go, and then Jenna Ortega left the production, and everybody thought it was in what's the word I'm looking
Solidarity
for?
with her.
Solidarity,
yeah.
Solidarity with Melissa, when it really, I think Price is right, because I think she had another project. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember if it was Wednesday or something else at that same exact time that was coming up. Which is like,
I'm going to tell you this, with all due respect to
Solidarity, coming up. Season 2 is shooting, I think, at the same time or whatever.
With all due respect to Solidarity and stuff like that, most actors in Hollywood that somebody is going to say, hey, here's like a few $1 million and you can be in this movie. If they're not taking that, there's a reason, and it has nothing to do with some girl that said some stupid thing. It has to do with if they have other offers, if this is a chance that they can somehow bow out. If, like you said, they were paying her more for Wednesday, she had other obligations. Maybe that was in her contract. I don't know what the original...
I don't think she had a contract for a 7th Scream either.
Third
so for her. That's the
if
thing,
they didn't option, if there wasn't like a situation that it was a multi-film deal, and maybe initially, I don't know at what point they signed her, maybe she wasn't as big of a deal, and they're not looking to sign her for a multi-film deal because they didn't care about her. But suddenly they wanted her, so at this point, maybe it wasn't the best option for her. But I guess what I'm saying is I really, really don't believe that it was out of solidarity for Barrero or wherever her name is.
No, I agree with you totally, and you're right. You're 100% right. At this point, Scream is beneath her.
Yeah,
like, she has reached the level of Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places. She don't need no Halloween now, right? Like, not for 20 years. Or 15 years or whatever.
Yeah, I can totally see that, like 10, 15 years from now, if they're desperate and she's already not like at the prime of her career and somebody's like, hey, do you want to come back and do the thing? Then maybe she'll do it. But now she's got other things to do. I wouldn't be rushing to do it either. I don't know what her opinions are on that conflict, but I really don't think that has anything to do with her decision.
And considering that Nev Campbell wasn't in part 6 because of a dispute over money, I guarantee you they would never be able to give Jenna the amount of money
exactly
that it would take her to stick around. If she can blow that pop stand and go like, no, I got Wednesday shit I gotta do, see ya. Yeah,
it's not only that. I mean, her star just in a very different place than it was then when they hired her. And yeah, I mean, if they couldn't, you're right, if they couldn't even pay Nev Campbell, they're sure shit not going to be able to pay her. Yeah,
pay her out the ass for the new one now because they lost the other two. And that's the other thing that only makes sense is like, why would you do that? Why would you put yourself in that position? You wouldn't. So in that position now, they have to bring back Nev Campbell and all that kind of shit. And anyway, point being is that and I'm not just making this shit up. There is a story out there. I can't remember if it was specifically Wednesday season 2, but I think that was what was cited in the article, because there was an article countering the whole narrative that she left in solidarity, saying that, oh no, actually Jenna left the project because she had other obligations, one of which being shooting season 2 of Wednesday, I swear is what it said. So that's,
if it wasn't season 2, it was probably one of the other movies she did, because she did Doritos, Dinamata, she did Miller's Girl, she did Winter, Spring, Summer, and Fall.
Beetlejuice. None of those things are ringing
Beetlejuice happened a few
months
after
that happened already.
They already finished with the Scream stuff. Yeah,
which is why I clarified Wednesday season 2, because she already shot season 1 years ago. Like,
well, they shot season 2 after they finished Beetlejuice. So
yeah, she was already shooting it, but. Yeah, now, I mean, that's the other thing now. This movie's been delayed for so long, unless they actually are probably shooting Scream, I would imagine now, aren't they, Script? That's probably why all this news is coming out.
Most likely, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, with that being said, that's all I really had to say. I just thought it was kind of silly. And now that Mike's back, we can get into our last super chat. And Camobot Killer, sorry, sends in 5 and says, script, will Hollywood really go back to media sales, or is that admitting they were wrong or they won't? Hollywood studio heads are shit. Are the...
Okay.
Trying to figure out what he's saying here.
Well, yeah, one thing you have to remember, Camelbot Killer, is that Hollywood studios change leadership often. So if the leadership changes, the studios don't have to admit they're wrong. They just have to change the leadership. So if, say, someone takes over Bob Iger and he or she is very much not like Bob Iger and they want to invest more in physical media and reduce Disney Plus, that's the new leadership's terms. That's what they want to do. And it's not an admission of a mistake. It's basically saying this is what I, the new leader of the company, want to do, and that's what we're going to do. That's how it works. Hollywood itself has this structure in place so that, number one, they don't have to admit mistakes, and number two, so that they can always look like they're being a couple steps ahead of the markets around them, even though in actuality they're usually always 3 or 4 steps behind.
Well,
I argue that it's too late. And if it's not too late, it's damn near close to too late, and they better hurry the hell up if you want physical media sales, because the average person buying a TV doesn't go in and say, I need my Blu-ray 4K player and my no. They go in wanting a TV, and the number one question they want to know is for all the streaming services, are those buttons on the remote, and are they already installed as apps on the
Mikey's
TV?
right, unfortunately, and this is
why the battle has been lost. And I did not have this viewpoint until I started seeing stuff around the holiday season, going to Walmart's, going to Best Buys, going to watching people's behavior. And I was just sitting around in the electronics section, just hanging out a variety of times. It wasn't a mission of mine, but I never heard people be like that. And looking at the product placement of where physically how TVs were being displayed, and where the Blu-ray players were, which is in an obscure shelf on the corner by the printers, tells me everything I need to know. The battle for physical media is dead.
Well, that's also because people don't go to physical stores as much anymore.
Well, not only that, the stores don't carry the shit. That's the problem. This is so many folds to this, and I want to go back to what you said, Script, because they'll never admit any kind of defeat. But you know what Bob Iger did do? He just signed over a deal with Sony where Sony's going to handle all their distribution of their physical media. That's a way of them getting back into heavy physical media without admitting defeat on the Disney side of things. That's one way they'll do that thing.
Right.
The other side of it is the boutique companies. The other side of it also is Warner Brothers, Universal, and Paramount are still very much behind physical media. Sony is as well. Universal and Sony are kind of hit and miss when they do with 4Ks anymore, though. That's kind of happening. So again, those kind of titles are going to start going over to the boutiques labels. And perfect example of that is Renfield, a movie that's not even 2 years old.
Not even 2 years. Yeah.
It didn't get a 4K release, but guess what? Shit Factory's releasing it in 4K this next month or the month after. And I already got an import from another company that released it in 4K. So, I mean, it's just, this is kind of the way the business is going. You have to, the collectors have to go online to get their shit. It's kind of in a place right now where it's getting, there's a heat behind it because people are starting to open up and realize that they don't own this shit on streaming. They've already had issues with when they want to see a movie, it's hard to find because they're like, oh, Netflix don't have it. Oh, Amazon don't have it. Well, do they have one of the other streaming services? Oh, it's on Paramount Plus. I don't have Paramount Plus. Oh, it's on Peacock. I don't fucking have Peacock. That's the problems people are running into, and they're already sick of that issue. And I'll tell you right now, aside from when are you bringing back the shit list, which we've already kind of done with the Tier Ranker show, when are you bringing back 4K for you? Those are the 2 questions I probably get the most asked all the time. The third most is, what do I do if I'm getting back into physical media? And I've already answered this a few times, but I'll answer again real quickly. The easiest way to do it is to go, first of all, the best way to do it economically, especially if you're on a budget, is go to like resale shops, Goodwills, all that around your area. Guarantee you'll be able to find a functioning Blu-ray player for cheap. And not only that, a good selection to jumpstart your collection. And what I've told people, if you don't know where to start with your collection, is make a list of your island movies. Like if you were trapped on an island, what top 50 movies would you have to have or want to have if you're going to be trapped there to watch? Even 100 movies, make a list of 100 if you get more. Like start from there. And then from there, you'll realize that you'll have those movies that you always want at the tip of your fingertips whenever you want them, as opposed to having to be a slave to the streaming services. But it's up to us as the consumer now, because the next questions I get after that, because of that, is like, well, where do I go to buy discs and all that kind of stuff? And sadly, my answer is, well, your choices are Amazon online, Walmart online, and basically DVD and Blu-ray dealers. And what I mean by that, there's like Diabolic DVD, there's Orbit DVD, there's oh God, I'm trying to remember. There's another one that I'm trying to remember, but there's a few of them like that handle most titles, and especially overseas titles and stuff, and make it easier for us in the U.S. to get a hold of. Otherwise, you got to go directly to their websites alone. I'm talking Kino Lorber, Shit Factory, unfortunately. But even though Shit Factory, most of their stuff's carried by other people. Groove is
the other part too that you're also
Groove,
highlighting is that all of those things are you order online, they ship to your house. Like there's no traditional browsing at a brick and mortar store anymore. And that was a big...
Barnes and Nobles is one of the big few that still handle physical media, yeah.
But how many of them are really all over the States? And
they're actually growing. They're opening a bunch of stores, but you're right. You're not wrong. I mean, they're not exactly on every street corner.
And on that very positive note, I have to run, so I don't want to do it abruptly, but I want to thank you for having me on the stream. What'd you say?
No, I didn't see your message. That's my bad.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You were answering the super chat, so I didn't want to bother you. In any case, wanted to thank everybody in the chat, and thank you guys, and thank you, Tom, for having me on. And I'll see you script Quantum Leap at 10 p.m., 11:45 p.m. That's happening on my live stream channel. There will be the Night Owl. So you all have a great evening.
You too. And we got some, so check in with Price, and we got some more super chats here. We got a few from 6. She sends in 2 and says dance. And she says another 2 and says dance. And she says another one and says, or Mikey. Then she says dance. So she's making it rain, Mikey.
Well, there's one more super chat.
And then he says, yeah, whatever 6 is saying, it says flying blind on a rocket.
Wait, does that even get us to 10? And wasn't it supposed to be within 30 minutes?
I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it actually did hit our goal, but you know what? It's enough that I think you got to do a little Trump dance.
Oh, how am I going to do this? I got to stand up or what? Like,
no, just do like I just did. I didn't even get up.
No. The people.
Oh, you want me to get up? I'll get up, I guess.
All right. Hey, hold on. Let me tell my brother what I'm about to do before I do it. The people had to send 10 super chats, and if they sent 10 super chats, I had to dance. So don't think your brother's weird when I do what I'm about to do. He says my brother was in the living room.
It weird.
He's like, I knew you were weird a long time ago.
Exactly. You just made it fucking weirder.
I made it weirder? How did I make it weirder?
You haven't made it weirder yet, because it only becomes
right,
weirder when you start dancing.
I don't have any music.
Oh, I can get you music. Oh, yeah, and say I need music. What do you want? All kinds of stuff. Can you dance to this?
This is an embarrassment, but as a man I was a loser. As a woman I'm the best ever. My penis is now a gaping hole, and I will fill it with an Oscar, or an Oscar comes first. Lord knows I can't come anymore. Vaginoplasty, it's so nasty.
All right, we're done.
Penis to vagina, vagina to the penis. I know you are all sick of this, but we will win all the Oscars. You will see in the story of how I lost my pee-pee.
This is why I don't invite Mike in the morning show, because of things he does with Thomas Connors Jr. I am so glad I am asleep and do not have to see what these wackos do on our affiliate channels. That was fun.
There might have been some pee in that dance.
Yep. Oh, I should put it back in. Hold on. Okay.
Well, that happened.
Well, the camera only captured this much.
I hope you got your money's worth there, 6. And with that, I think it's time for us to get on out of here. What do you guys say? I think we've covered just about everything we can. We got some morning news tomorrow, so show up for that. Script, what are you doing later? Are you going to be doing anything this evening?
I'll be on Price's channel later, and then sadly tomorrow I'll be conducting about 6 interviews with potential new staffers at the company I'm with. So have a great show tomorrow morning. I'll be there in spirit. But yeah, and then I'll be
like Ghost Dad.
Better than Ghost Dad.
You won't make me.
I'll be like Swayze and Ghost. You
do
know,
the nasty things that Ghost Dad makes.
I'll help you guys sculpt some pottery. You know.
Oh my love. Okay, I'm done. Mikey, what do you got going on?
Nothing. I need to eat it. I need to finish my pho, and then I need to take Bambino out.
Yeah, you need to finish it so it's right.
Yeah, pho.
I feel like we're on like Sesame Street. Remember when they had the letter, the word, and it was separated? And
Yeah.
then the two. Anyway. With that, we're going to get out of here. We love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. And Elf is good.
Cute kitty.
Available now for the first time ever on DVD from Midnight's Edge After Dark Productions. It's My Two Dads, the complete first season starring Mexican Iron Man Tom Connors and Culture Casino. Available now for $19.99 while supplies last.